Let's move on from that story and move on to something that's very close to my heart. You could wonder whether or not it's a mere coincidence that the Gender Ministry's plan to review Ghana's child protection policies begins now, about 2 weeks since we broke the story about a 4-year-old allegedly defiled, as well as a gamut of rape cases which are apparently being managed by traditional leaders in Asinfosu. We'll have a glimpse of the discussions being led by the ministry, which started today. But we'll also have the Member of Parliament for Asin South in the studio to have a quick conversation. Let's have a look at the discussions that they had earlier today.
As for those international conventions, they have my own problems with the way sometimes we define these things, because our own attitudes must change to make it useful to us, and nobody can do that except us. This morning I had a long discussion with some NGO group while on my way to office. They think that the challenge is us. They have actually said they are petitioning Mr. Speaker, they are petitioning you to see how Parliament and the other institutions can work together to make the laws work. So my view is that nothing is missing except our own attitude. But probably we must focus on changing our attitudes and our mindset to ensure that people who are responsible for enforcing the laws do take them seriously and make the laws work for the society. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
In 2010 and 2014, there were 5,752 cases of defilement and rape that were reported. But according to Ghana Living Standards Survey 6, published in 2014, they posit that 93% of defilement and rape cases often go unreported. So if that assertion is something to go by, then the 5,752 defilement and rape cases that were reported within the period represent just a tip of the iceberg, and that calls for concern. And in recent times, in the past few weeks, the prevalence that have been exposed in Asin South, just as occurs in many other locations and areas in Ghana, has created the awareness and heightened the urgency and the need why, as a collective, we need to collaborate efforts to root out the menace of sexual assault from our society, not tomorrow, but today. We cannot defer the fight till tomorrow. And transparency is very key for us to win this fight. We need a transparent system. And that is where I commend the media for particularly exposing these acts that have been going on unreported in many other locations in Ghana, and bringing to limelight the urgency and the need for us as a country to take urgent steps in addressing this menace. Many cases may have gone, many cases may have gone, uncovered, and it is important that with the support of the media, we expose all such cases and ensure that justice is served, and that will signal strong deterrence to potential perpetrators and will heighten the awareness that defilement, rape are matters of criminality. That is a crime to rape someone, that is a crime to defile someone, and when that awareness is heightened, I believe that the traditional leaders, heads of family, leaders of various houses of faith would also have to refrain from the culture of obstructing justice, particularly in sexual harassment cases. And that will be a culture that should be a thing of the past for us all to collaborate in ensuring that justice is served and even preventive measures are put in place in educating our people to appreciate that sexual harassment.
So that was what happened earlier in Parliament, as well as what the Member of Parliament for Asin South, which is has been under a microscope for some time now because of, like I said, the gamut of rape cases and the defilement as well that we've reported on. The MP joins me in the studio, Reverend John Intim Fojo. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Gifty.
Also in the studio with me is Berima Akwesia Mankwa, very nice name, I must say, National Coordinator of the Ghana NGO Coalition on the Right of the Child. I understand that you have also been, you're welcome by the way.
Thank you.
I understand that you have also been at the Ministry of Gender and Social Protection's review of the child policies. Okay, so great. Shall we start with you then about what what are some of the key issues that came up this morning?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Among the many issues that we are looking at is that the review of the legislation concerning children did not start today, but it started some months ago with an advisory committee that has been inaugurated for us to take a look at the laws that we are using to govern or spearhead the affairs of children. Among the issues that were very critical for our discussion today were issues relating to protection, of children, victims. Protection of children has been very critical because, for instance, if you take the issue about defilement cases, how are the victims protected? It's very crucial, and that is also one issue that came up today. Secondly, we are looking at issues relating to online exploitation of children. During the time of when we came out of the Children's Act and the Juvenile Justice Act, issues about online protection were not there. But now it has come a fast which we need to look at it and see how best we are going to put it on board. Issues relating to commercial sexual exploitation of children has also come on board, which you need to look at it. Then issues about surrogating. You have children surrogating for other people, and you have two issues, child protection issues again here. The child surrogating for somebody and the child who is also unborn is also an issue. You have issues relating to child marriage and age of consent to sex. We have issue, for instance, somebody with the law said the Children's Act say that the child can get married off at the age of 18.
Right.
Then you also have the age of consent to sex, which is 16, which we need to look at.
What are they doing about that in particular, if I may ask?
It's changing, a consultation.
We understand that you're changing the date, you know, the age from say 18 to or 16 to 18.
It has not been taken, firm decision has not been taken, but it's a consultation that we need to look at, because we cannot, just as the Ministry for Gender, Children and Social Protection, civil society organization, so that we're going to change it just in a day. But we need a consultation of the chiefs, the opinion leaders, parliament, before we'll be able to agree on it. Then we can make a way forward. So those are some of the issues.
I went to him, sir, so that you could have an idea, Reverend Fojo, you can have an idea of the kinds of conversations that they're having. Obviously, you have not been in that meeting, so you may not know. But we're looking at your constituency. I mean, your constituency has been on the radar for the past 2 or 3 weeks, I think. How do you think that the kinds of issues that came up at the meeting today could help you, for example, as a member of parliament in whose constituency we're having a lot of these issues dealt with? How do you reconcile that?
Good afternoon, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here. I must also convey my greetings to the good people of Asin South and to appreciate multimedia, Joy FM specifically, JoyNews, for the diligent work done at exposing the prevalence of defilement and rape, not only in Asin South in particular, but as occurs in many other locations and areas in Ghana. We are grateful for that, because it's going to be very useful going forward as a nation for us to be driven with urgency to take immediate steps to curtail the prevalence of sexual assault. It's important that if there are needs, as per the experts' argument, if there are needs for reforms that will further strengthen the protection that we offer for our children, for our females, I would support those calls. But my concern here is fundamentally, even the baseline, even the legislations and the regulations that we have currently, how well are we enforcing them, and how are we even creating awareness and educating them?
And that's a very important point you made, sir. And that is my concern, that let us even, much as I welcome these reforms that are very laudable, let us even stick to the current legislation. And which is what then places you at the right spot that I would love you to be at this moment. So I want to find out from you, sir. Let me please ask my question. What I want to find out from you is, what exactly are the strategies? I mean, you've been talking about this for a while now, and I believe that it's a matter of concern to you. So you certainly want to put together some kind of strategy that will help deal with the issue. And it appears that there's a role of the traditional rulers as well in your constituency in this. That will be a very tricky area for you as an MP who is on a political ticket, of course. How are you going to deal with that? Is there a strategy we should know about?
Yeah, there is. And I made a statement on the floor of Parliament this morning, and I espoused all those strategies. And thankfully, the Speaker of Parliament also corroborated that position. And let me take it from the entire chain. We have a reporting procedure, so long as those cases are concerned. But the entry point is for one to seek medical attention, even for gynecologists to establish that some tampering must have occurred. How many people, and usually looking at the demographics of the victims that often are affected, how many of them can afford even the initial medical bill? So fundamentally, if one lacks the wherewithal to even afford the medical bill, that truncates the justice process, even at that very point. So among other strategies that I'm calling for, what I'm appealing is that the state must absorb the cost of medical bill that victims and parents in sexual assault cases will have to incur under the health insurance scheme. And in furtherance to that, I'm calling on heads of families, traditional leaders, heads of various houses of faith to collaborate in this fight. Because give to you, you agree with me that in our society today, it's even becoming, it is even a stigma all over Ghana for one to even report that have been raped or have been defiled. And for us to be able to overcome that jinx, the influential people in society, the opinion leaders, the chiefs, the heads of institutions, teachers, clergy, we all will have to take the initiative to even educate the people around us, to let them appreciate that it is even a crime to defile someone. It is a crime to rape someone, and even in an unlikely event when such occurs, it is in line to expose it and to report it for justice to be served, to signal strong deterrence, and that is the way we can overcome this.
Let's look specifically at Asing South.
To address that, and I believe that many other locations in Ghana will draw lessons from the strategies
Certainly.
that I have put in place. Commencing next week, series of town hall meetings are going to be organized. There will be separate meetings with opinion leaders, with traditional leaders, heads of families, heads of institutions. These influential people will be met, and then in other groupings, there will be youth groups, peer groups, parents, and then female groups who will be giving various education and awareness. And I'm doing this in collaboration with the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Ministry of Information, NCCE, the Ghana Police Service, of course, and Assin South District Assembly. We are also in parallel running a rigorous media campaign to heighten awareness and to create that education, and we want to that all is to commence next week. Just
okay.
For now, we are very busy dealing with the situation, because it's very important that we ensure the 3 cases that are reported see some conclusion. That justice
what do you envisage?
What do you envisage? The victims.
What do you envisage will be the biggest challenge rolling out this strategy?
The biggest challenge is to have every stakeholder involved. Of course, it is a collective fight, it's a national fight, it's not an Assin South fight, and it's not an Intim Fojo fight, albeit I take responsibility, I'm taking the initiative, I am leading the fight, I'm leading the campaign. But I would need the support of everyone. And this idea, I must inform you, that has been largely and well welcomed by the traditional leaders of Assin South, and all the leaders have unanimously accepted that this is the way we must go. I'm getting their full support. I'm getting the support of the clergy, and even starting this Friday, the clergy and other heads of houses of faith and traditional leaders, we are holding a joint meeting, and afterwards we even have some prayer sessions, and it was preparing for the town hall meetings that will be rolled out from next week. So thankfully that challenge is abated, and we are having every stakeholder support, and we are hoping to make sure, we are hoping that this will turn out well, and we would meet again, and in recounting the successes, we would say that sexual assault, defilement, rape, and such related incidents have become the thing of the past, not only in Assin South constituency, but in the entire country.
We'll see how that goes. Let me take your thoughts on whether or not you think this is a workable plan.
It's a very laudable idea and initiative, and one of the issues that were discussed and mentioned were issues about cost-related issues when victims come in contact or in conflict with the law. How they have to pay has been an issue. You have to go to the police station, we are all asked to pay. You have to go to hospital, we are asked to pay. It's very important that as a nation we look at how best we are going to fix this cost so that people will voluntarily come out whenever they are abused. Ascent South has come on the spotlight, perhaps because the media was very influential in that dimension. Because of the 4-year-old.
Apparently it's a trend, apparently.
But
and then
there are a lot of,
there's some way somehow find their way.
There are a lot of people who have not reported. True. Because they don't have the means, they don't have the capacity, they don't have the resources to even move out of their community. And they resort or they have confidence in the traditional leaders, in the assemblymen, in the unit committee people, in the religious people around them. But how do we build these people's confidence up? How do we draw the linkage that they are the informal sectors that in cases of criminal issues, they need to make referrals to the appropriate quarters? How do they build a trust among the community members as well as the duty bearers so that that relationship, working relationship will be available so that when people are abused within their communities, irrespective of the fact that police is not there, DOPSU is not there, they will be able to have the courage and say that I'm going to report to the assemblyman because I know the assemblyman is going to lead me to the nearest police station or to the nearest office.
With what has happened in Ascent South, does it give you any, I mean, as someone who's been working in the coalition, the NGO area, does this give you any comfort that with this case, we're either going to see a reduction or an elimination of this source of abuse, not just in Ascent South, but generally?
Yes, I see that there is a general call, which is very positive. People have seen that now. People are becoming very much aware, not just to recall the memories of people, but if you look at the case of Major Mahama, when the incident happens, now there's a bill in Parliament called Major Mahama Bill that is looking at how best we are going to change some of these things. I believe this is also a wake-up call that we can use this as a point of interest and say that if effect from now, we are also going to stand up against all people, and I mean all people, irrespective of their jurisdiction, irrespective of their race or color, irrespective of wherever they are coming from, that this is the turning point that we feel from now we are going to do this to solve the problem.
It's actually always very sad when, for example, the Member of Parliament says that the laws are there, we have the rules, the regulations are there. It's always been an issue of enforcement. So let me find out from you, is there any latest update on this little girl, the 4-year-old girl? I understand that you've relocated her and the family.
Yes, as soon as the unfortunate incident came to my notice, I had to send a delegation to pay them a visit. Subsequently, I immediately also followed up, relocated them from their village where the incident occurred to a more convenient location away from the village, and then supported them in a way that will give them relief and sound mind to pay their bills and give them stipends. But following after that, I relocated them. They at some point even had to live with me in my home to personally ensure their well-being, and subsequently I handed them over to the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Honorable Otiko Jaba, and they've been sheltered as we speak. They are in very good care of the ministry, and they've been sheltered outside the constituency, and they are given all the medical treatment and the psychosocial support that they require. So the little girl is recovering very fast. She's doing very well, and interacting with her.
Question about whether this is sustainable. You know, you moved her. This is, of course, from your pocket. You moved her, take her to the ministry. Now, the ministry itself, you know, I've been to social welfare offices that are just terrible, plain terrible. So, what is the level of sustainability?
That ties in perfectly in with my first point. That as we are welcoming reforms, we also have to strengthen and resource the existing institutions and procedures and ensure that they work in offering protection for our children. Then we would augment it with further reforms. So if we all would respond to that and adequately resource the systems and the institutions that we currently have, we should be able to overcome that. But again, I just want to signal the importance. I mean, when the issue came, maybe some may have looked at it that is giving Ascent South bad publicity, but I hold a contrary view. I think that this is very important. What has happened has triggered this national campaign this national awareness, which to a large extent will go to eradicating the menace of sexual assault in the entire
I'm personally sure
Ghana.
that there were a lot of girls, or there are a lot of girls in Asen South, I mean various parts of your constituency, who have suffered this but can't speak.
Yeah.
So certainly this is a beam of light for them.
So Gifty, it is rightly so. Absolutely, I agree with you. And you would recall that between the year 2010 and the year 2014, the figures that DOVSU has published stands that 5,752 cases of defilement and rape were reported.
Yeah, we saw
Ghana.
that in the soundbite that you gave us earlier.
And to reiterate that point, according to Ghana Living Standards Service 6 in 2014, they posit that only 93% of such cases go unreported. Only 7 are reported. So clearly, out of the 5,752, obviously, it's shared among the entire country, like I said, as happens and occurs in many other locations and areas in Ghana. Today, it is Asen South that thankfully the media has exposed, and that has given us an indication of what is happening out there that may not have been exposed. So it is a lesson for us all in going forward to collaborate efforts to ensure that we root out the menace of sexual assault.
Right. I personally have been trying to figure out what will make any little girl attractive to a man, and especially when there are a lot of women out there who are willing to give it for free, really. I don't know, but I find it really difficult to comprehend. It's a big deal for me. But let me say thank you to you two gentlemen for coming. Reverend John Intin-Fojo is Member of Parliament for Asen South. He's my friend, but I'm not sure if he's still my friend.
And thank you very much for your personal, role and advocacy.
You said that already.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I've also been here with Berima Kwesi
Amankwa. You're still my friend. It's a reminder. You're still
sure.
my friend.
Well, until there are no reports to be, to be aired about sexual abuse in Asen South, then we'll be very good friends. Berima Kwesi Amankwa is with the a coalition of NGOs,
the rights of the child.
Yes, child rights. Thank you very much for coming.
Hopefully,
whatever reviews that there are to be made in this particular the child protection policies will be for the better and not for the worse. We've seen quite a couple of issues. But let's hear the gender minister.
Congratulations to Multimedia for the awards that you won.
Right.
Yeah, the just recent RTP awards. Congratulations to all the award winners, and as a team, congratulations.
Right, thank you very much. Gender Minister Otiko Afisa Jaba was at the event, of course. Like I said, they were having a conversation about how to review the existing child protection policies in this country. Let's hear her to wrap up on that conversation.
Ghana has a robust legislative framework for the protection of children. Indeed, we pride ourselves for being the first country in the world to sign and ratify the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. But how many children know about the rights, and how many parents know about those rights? It's not enough to sign on to all these protocols or to ratify them, but it is how they are meaningfully translated into the development of our children. That is what we are going to be talking about here. Ghana is also a signatory to various international and regional protocols and conventions on child protection. At the national level, we have Acts of Parliament. Since 1992, the F-Cube and the Children's Act since 1998, and the Ghana Constitution itself talks about the rights of children. The Children's Act and the Juvenile Justice Act, the Criminal Code, Interstate Succession Act, the Human Trafficking Act, Domestic Violence Act, Criminal Offences Act, Matrimonial Causes Act, Registration of Births and Deaths, and Persons with Disabilities, SHIRAC, and many others. We must review them and bring them to date to have meaning in the lives of our children. With everything that we do in terms of child protection and protection of the vulnerable, I would want to propose that it should be a bottoms-up approach, grassroots-based, community-based, in a language that our people can understand. You talked about parents not being there and understanding their rights or the rights of children. It's because, especially in rural Ghana, they can't read in English. And they cannot read in Twi or Dagbani. I'm very fluent in all the languages that he talked about, but I cannot read in any of them apart from English. So the time has come for us to change the way we communicate with our people. We must engage traditional leaders using the dialects that our people understand. And the Constitution must be remade and recorded in all the Ghanaian languages, and we take them to our people. There is nobody in this country who does not love their child. And if they understand that it is not right, it is against the law for them to marry their child off or to send their child off into child trafficking, I believe that when they know, it will not happen again. Children are not a piece of property. They are not decoration. They don't just come. We want them, and we must involve them in decision-making from the beginning about any decision that affects them. So we would be including the formation of children's rights clubs. We are sending a policy paper to Cabinet to entreat Cabinet to agree that every school must have a children's rights club, a girls leadership club, and in the communities, they must have human rights associations and ensure that adult education is embarked on aggressively for parents and persons in the community to have a better understanding of the laws and policies. And that is why it is necessary to review and amend the current legislative framework to address these gaps that we are identifying.